Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster back here on this end of the weekend, Sunday, August 27th, 2023. It's about 12:04 p.m. California time here. Taking a look at the latest satellite imagery here of Tropical Storm Idalia, which is now gaining some momentum here. You can see the area of circulation right below this hand. Look below this cloud level right here. You'll see this clockwise rotation. That is the area of circulation. Of course, convective bands all around it. Quite a bit of lightning going on here within Tropical Storm Idalia. Things are really kicking up and definitely getting of concern up here for the folks across the Florida area, where quite a few counties up here are underneath a state of emergency due to the potential of Hurricane Idalia. Right now it's a tropical storm, but it's expected to reach hurricane status before it makes landfall there across the Florida area. Here's the latest information here from the National Hurricane Center with regards to Tropical Storm Idalia. There is the cone of uncertainty. Let's check out the I want to see what the messages are on this real quick. Idalia is forecast to become a hurricane over the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and there is increasing risk of life-threatening storm surge, flooding from heavy rainfall, and hurricane-force winds along portions of the west Florida coast and the Florida Panhandle beginning as early as Tuesday. Still uncertain on how strong or powerful this thing will be, but it's going to be venturing over some very warm waters, so it doesn't take a whole lot of time for things to strengthen and form into a major hurricane with those type of warm waters. Let's see, where is that? Well, look at this real quick here. We're currently right here. Tropical storm. Current maximum sustained winds of about 40 miles per hour. That is, of course, tropical storm category. Expected to stay that way. I don't know. I think we may be a hurricane before Tuesday morning. They got 7 a.m. Tuesday morning, still a tropical storm, and then hurricane Tuesday night, 7 p.m., and then venturing off towards the northeast here. Let me turn on the track line here. There's the track of the expected Hurricane Idalia. Currently no watches or warnings up, but again, this will obviously be a day-by-day thing here to mention these warnings and watches. Just kind of keeping an eye on this pretty closely. Let's check out the windy map here. Make sure I got the latest information here. Looks like I do. You got Franklin out here in the Atlantic. That's going to disappear and eventually go away. So hurricane status 1, 86 miles per hour come Tuesday in the this looks like 1700 time frame, which is late afternoon, and then hurricane status 1 Wednesday early in the morning. This model here, though, shows a little bit more northeastward track movement with Hurricane Idalia here, so we're going to have to watch this and see which one's right. But either way, I think the uncertainty is going to be well, it could mean more damage here along the west coast if this thing does take a more, eastward turn. The west coast here, the Florida region, that includes Tampa, Sarasota area as well, Spring Hill. Tallahassee's still going to be in there, but again, if this spreads a little bit further east, this area is going to be in some trouble. Similar to that hurricane that hit, when was it, last year or the year before? I can't remember now. But either way, definitely want to be on guard out here for this type of setup. Let's put this thing into motion here and see what this is going to look like come Monday or so, getting its act together tomorrow, about 2 p.m. We should start to notice some type of eye wall beginning on Monday. A little bit later on Tuesday here. Still looking at some winds picking up. Like I say, it's just coming over the land here off of Havana area. But once it gets into this open water here, it's going to have unlimited source of fuel. And this is just one of the weather models here showing the potential impact area around Jenna, it looks like. Another one we can look at is the GFS model. Let me bring this up here real quick and see what we got for the southeast. This is a GFS model. Put this into motion here, and it looks like it just wants to get geared up right as it makes landfall right around the Tallahassee area. This is a GFS model. There's many other different models we can use. Most of the time, the GFS is pretty consistent. Let's see what the wind here is expected to be. This is the GFS 850 height, wind, and the MSLP centers. That one still shows right over the Tallahassee area with some pretty significant winds in there. Again, this is all subject to change as, there's only a small window of opportunity here with Tropical Storm Idalia in between the position where it's at now and a landfall up here in Florida. So it's only got a day or two maybe to gain some strength, but we all know that things can definitely kick up pretty quickly with hurricanes. So Tropical Storm Idalia right there. Here's some of the latest radar imagery or brightness of the clouds. Of course, the higher top clouds are going to be in the white, and the darker color ones. This is all convection right now. Just a pretty good cluster of thunderstorms. On the other map I showed you, satellite view, showed the area of circulation right about here underneath all these high tops. This is still information from the National Hurricane Center. Again, looks like maybe landfall around 7 a.m. Wednesday, depending on the speed that this thing picks up. Right now it's moving north at 2 miles an hour. So, yeah, very slow, but sustained winds here about 40. So if it slows down, say if this slows down even more, eventually it's going to pick up. But if it doesn't pick up like they're thinking it's going to be, this thing may sit over this water for a little bit and have some energy, pick up, some fuel to become a stronger hurricane. Spaghetti models over here. The models have shifted slightly with Tropical Storm Idalia. This is the model track guidance. This was a little bit more westward here last night, so it looks like right now we're looking at a little bit more of a turn once it hits a hurricane status. And again, that may not be good news out here at all as far as storm surge and that wind damage potential. Here's the estimated model intensity. Now these are creeping up as well. This is basically a computer model estimating the potential wind speed here and the category strength. Nothing going up into category 3 yet, but we're noticing a model trend here of more runs showing a category 2. Last night there was only maybe one up here, but now we're getting more that are stretching up towards that area for it to become maybe a major hurricane. So it's again, it's day by day. You got to watch this hour by hour almost in terms of how strong this thing may be. Tomorrow's going to be actually today and tomorrow is going to be pretty important on watching the direction and the strength of this Tropical Storm Idalia. But again, these are stretching up. They're obviously category 1, maybe category 2. Pretty big deal, folks. So, if you're not prepared, I would start getting ready. It's, again, the governor issued state of emergency for several counties out here. I would, if you're worried about being underneath one of those emergency state of emergencies there that the governor issued, I would look into it. Check your local TV and whatnot for the counties. But also, you got to make sure you got some sandbags and whatnot if you are out there in the flood-prone regions during storm surge. It'd be interesting to see how this plays out. Definitely a little on the scary side out there. See what the upper dynamics look like out here. there's that low. Let's see here, valid. Just trying to see what's pulling it in right there. Almost looks like this. There was a dip in the stream right here in this little jet stream, little trough that's pulling up Idalia into the area of Florida. So these are upper level wind patterns, and that has a lot to do with obviously where a hurricane's going to be directed. So it's going to pull it right up in there. Come Tuesday into Wednesday, that low, so to speak, is right there. So that's the that is the guidance model showing that direction. It doesn't look like there's anything that's going to prevent that from being sucked up into this area due to the upper level patterns here. That's most likely scenario right up in there. All right, yeah, goodness. Let me check out the. Wow, this model is probably going to be roughly about the same. Yep. So we'll continue to cover this and watch this. I may fire up the live stream on a secondary live stream to cover this event as well with the latest updated weather imagery. All right, I want to see what's going on for long-term models here with the assemble for the West Coast area. We're still kind of cooking out here. It's supposed to be about 96 today. Looks like there may be some troughing developing out here around the first week of September. That could be some cooler weather for us here along the West Coast. But it looks like the heat's going to backbuild here across a good portion of the country that's been dealing with quite a bit of heat as well. So no major cooling pattern for these folks. Out here along the West Coast, things look like they're going to be a little bit on the average or maybe slightly below average here across the West Coast, which is good news. I'll take that because I'm kind of tired of the heat. All right, folks. Let's see. Let's get into earthquake activity. See if we got anything kicking up overnight here. Let's check on the earthquake 3D globe. Now, when did the USGS do this? That's a little on the odd side. You guys see that? Is USGS functionable? Yeah, it looks like the USGS page may be down. You guys see that? Because every other page out here is working perfectly. Not my internet. Numerical models working fast. USGS. Hello. Are we down? Well, we still got the earthquake 3D globe up here. Goodness. It's the first time I've seen them go down like that. They are not working. Let me double check this here. USGS.gov. I just want the .gov section here. All right, so their main site's working, but okay, now that's a little weird. Hold on a second here. What's going on? You guys see that? It's kind of working with this one, but not with the other shortcut that I use. So I guess we'll just have to use this for now. That's a little weird. Now it wants to work. Okay, that's just weird. You guys see that? I think someone's playing games. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, everything looks working now. Looks like it's functionable. All right, so earthquake activity here across California. Haven't really seen anything major overnight. Did see 2.1 though earlier this morning, it looks like, outside of the Ventura area. A lot of activity has been taken, or has been hitting this fault system out here. It's a thrust fault. I believe it's the Red Mountain Fault or the Mission Ridge Fault that has been having that earthquake swarm activity out here over the past week or so. They did have a 5.1 there in the mix. Going to be that one. But we did have some activity prior to that as well. So we'd have to go back the last 30 days to see the total tally. It looks like about 222 earthquakes roughly out here, there's some oil fields out here, some oil pumping operations in the mountains there outside of the Sulphur Mountain area. But looking at this here, I think this is a fault stress because it is showing up. We're getting a couple other earthquakes out here, now out here across the western portion of this plate or this fault system. So I believe that's stress up here. Now, whether all this earthquake activity is enough to, relieve some of that strain out there, I don't know. The swarm has definitely backed off slightly, but we're still seeing some activity spread out here today across this region where that swarm has taken place. So we'll continue to watch Southern California. The Salton Sea area, San Andreas Fault, pretty quiet for now. Haven't really seen any effects of the rainfall that's taken place out here. They had quite a few inches of rainfall in one day. But again, sometimes it does take weeks, if not months, for it to dip down into areas that may be tightly wound up in the faults to release some of that strain, or maybe get some fault systems going out there. We'll continue to watch that, though. Northern California, one earthquake back prior to the Cascadia megathrust area. This is on the Gorda Plate, just outside of Eureka, 2.4, 10 kilometers deep. Low activity up here across the Blanco fracture zone as well. It's going to be a 2.5. Up here across the Mount Rainier area, looks like a little bit more activity stirred up overnight. A little separate swarm out here around the, off the southwestern flank here of Mount Rainier. Let's double check, see what we got going on up there at that volcano. This is the PNSN, Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. They show earthquake seismograms, all sorts of stuff up here. But we're looking for the Mount Rainier area right now. And that earthquake activity is occurring down around one of these seismograph stations here. Mount Wow. Woo! So let's see what's going on here. There's that 2.9 showed up pretty nicely on this seismograph station here. Looks like there was a couple other after that. Let's see what we got for the previous day here. For some reason they're not keeping their previous days updated. Let's go back here and see some other seismograph stations. Maybe this one here. Gateway Entrance Station. Here's that 2.9. Not quite as of a strong signature because that's a little bit further away from the other seismograph station I showed you guys. Trying to find one that might be right on top of it so we can see if there's any other maybe smaller microquake activity. Let's see here. That's an interesting name for this area. Okay, there's that 2.9. To me, it just looks like there was a couple smaller earthquakes before and after that 2.9. Similar to what the USGS is showing on here as well. So it doesn't look like there's any major swarm, just a little bit of earthquake activity occurring, about 8 to 10 kilometers below the surface. Now, this could be stress up against the Cascade Mountains due to the obvious activity that takes place here. The subduction zone, the Cascadia. This area does, this plate here is being subducted well underneath this land, and sometimes it does affect the crustal areas and also the areas below. And I think that's what's going on there. We did have one little small earthquake up at the summit, but if we start seeing this activity maybe closer, a little bit more shallower, then we can look into maybe what's going on as far as the magma, or if there's magma or something brewing underneath here, but I don't think so right now. Let me see here. Have we checked out the Mount Rainier GPS lately? Let's see what we got here. See if we got any unusual patterns here. These are seasonal patterns, which are very typical. Let's see what we got. Vertical displacement's going to be right here. I'm not for sure what that red line is. Let me see if I can find a different one here. But that is that area that I'm kind of watching or want to keep an eye on. Okay, hold on. Oops, just went past that. That's old, goes back to 2010. This goes 2022, does not cover 2023. Goodness. Some of these are just not kept up. So I guess we have to look at this one here. It's just definitely shows a weird pattern of uplift here, the beginning of 2023. But looks like it comes back down here somehow, magically. Maybe this is the average trend, you know, due to that seasonal uplift, so to speak. Seasonal trend. But there was a little bit more uplift than the normal seasonal trend. It looks like we're down now, though, according to this map. And that has a lot to do with snow melt, runoff and whatnot going down below the surface, creating some type of swelling, similar to what we see in Yellowstone each season. But we'll continue to watch that. See if any more swarming activity kicks up or not. All right, let's get back out of here. Go to where else are we going to? Where are we traveling to today? That'd be nice, huh? Just get up and decide where we're going. A couple earthquakes out here across the Pecos, Texas region. Some 2s and 3s. The big picture, anything major going on overnight? Looks like Japan's still having some activity here offshore. Although, let's see here. Looks like a 5.0, the last one, right along the Japan Trench. Did see some activity here yesterday as well. Looks like there's a couple earthquakes here in this area. That may be a sign of something brewing out here across the Japan area. The Kuro-Kamchatka Trench got one earthquake up here, pretty deep. 100 kilometers deep for a 4.2, adding further strain up here along the locked area. A couple smaller quakes out there in the Aleutian Trench from yesterday. Big island of Hawaii, earthquake swarm. It looks like it's still going. Not quite as intense, but still having a little bit of earthquake activity out there. The latest notification system here from the HVO. This is put out yesterday. Currently not erupting. We'll check back on that tonight. It doesn't look like anything's stirring up out there for now. A little bit of movement outside of the Anchorage area here in the last hour. 3.1 near Big Lake, Alaska. 39 kilometers deep just off of this fault system here. Pretty good cluster out here around the Papua New Guinea area once again. Westward into the Indonesia Islands area. That's very typical. As far as New Zealand goes, I don't see anything showing up here on the map. But, you know, let's double check, see what we got. Make sure we got them covered as well. Looks like the majority of the activity here from yesterday. A little bit of activity being reported about 3 hours ago from a 2.1. Now, I don't think we've seen anything major going on overnight, but we'll double check and see if any of the drums out here are showing any elevated unrest. Doesn't look like it. Most of this activity generally small and localized to the seismograph area. Some deeper activity there in Fiji from yesterday. That was definitely adding some further strain out here. We've got to watch this area around Solomon Islands and Vanuatu area once again. That's been somewhat of the quiet zone here repeatedly throughout the last week or so. So we'll watch this area. Bouncing back and forth in between and skipping them is not a good sign. That's definitely an area to watch here for some further movement. Looks like a little activity out here in the rift zone of Africa. That's been quite active as well. A couple fours kicking off out there from, let's see here. This is USGS reporting this. Tanzania area, 4.7 and a 4.6. Both of those from today, although they're off of the rift zone, more inland. Mediterranean area, looks like that 4.4 from yesterday, along with, I'd say a handful of smaller quakes in the vicinity of that 4-pointer. Nothing major going on there, though. The Atlantic Ocean, 4.7 down in the South Sandwich Trench. And Middle America Trench had a 4.5 here, just off the coast. I don't think we've got any major swarming going on in that area, but a little bit of movement right at the Middle America Trench. Pretty shallow, though, 10 kilometers deep. So we'll continue to watch it throughout the day today. Got a lot going on in the weather department, that's for sure. Let's check out the space weather activity, see if we can see our active sunspot region that produced that long duration M flare yesterday. I think we just barely see it still. Some magnetic lines arching off of the sunspot area. I don't think that we're going to be able to see that yet today. Eastern limb, nope. Not even a glimpse of it. It's somewhere out here. I don't see anything yet, but that is definitely a very active region, and we'll see what that looks like as it eventually will make its way onto the visible disk over here of the sun. Right now we're left with a couple massive sunspots, but this one is just completely drawn out and spreading out. Not a whole lot of complexity here, just not very active. About the only one that's worth watching here on the Earth facing side is going to be this area down here with a little bit of complexity within that core. But that's about it. We'll continue to watch, though, for that active region coming around the bend here in the coming days. Right now, 90% chance for a C flare, M flare, 20% chance, X flare around 1%. No major auroras in the forecast, folks. There's that flare from yesterday. Kevin got a nice shot of it here on the solar ham site. Did produce a pretty massive CME. Blasted off of this area of the sun. Unfortunately, excuse me, it was not Earth directed. But as you can see, that was a pretty bright feature and a good subsequent CME there. All right, folks, real quick glance at the Storm Prediction Center. There's not a whole lot of severe weather right now. A lot of thunderstorm activity, only a marginal risk here in the green, and that's probably just due to maybe some winds. Nothing big, but that's about it. And of course, we'll continue to monitor and watch Tropical Storm Idalia as it's just getting its bags packed. Going to be heading up to Florida. We'll definitely keep these guys in our thoughts and make sure you guys have a plan up there. Keep a close eye on the reports, not only from this channel, but also your National Weather Service and local authorities out there on what to do. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight, folks. Again, I may fire up a secondary stream to cover specifically that Tropical Storm Idalia. We'll see how that develops. So have a good one. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later on tonight. Take care, folks.